Hey, welcome to Always in Stitches Capi's a Bag class. This is our 6th month. I can't even believe we're halfway.
6 bags we've made.
I know, six projects that have led up to the bag.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll have this one done. So if you've been with us from the beginning, welcome. I'm glad you're still participating. If you're just chiming in and thinking, gosh, I really want to do that, you can still join. You can contact our orders department through our website, www.alwaysinstitches1.com, and get signed up for this class and get the previous patterns that we've already done and be caught up to go through the rest of the patterns. YouTube being what it is, this will probably remain for eternity, so the fee that you pay basically covers the cost of the patterns. And then this class is just part of the bonus that you get by taking the time to look at our YouTube channel. So this month we're working on the Barbados bag, which is a pink sand beach design pattern. And I absolutely love pink sand beach design patterns for bags. She does a beautiful job of giving you very good illustrations, very clear instructions, and she's smart about how she does it. Sometimes you'll find a bag is not necessarily designed to function very well, but you know, form makes it pretty, but function makes it work. And with bags, it's super, super important that they not only function, but that the form make sure that they look like they should and that they work like they should, that they support themselves in the weight of what we tend to put in effectively. So this is a little side bag. Here's a finished one that I can show you. And we've tied the strap so it's not so long. But you can see it's got a zipper pocket on the front. So nice little zipper pocket here, which has a nice big space to put stuff in. You've got just an open pocket there. Then you've got the interior pocket that has little pockets inside right there.
Can you tilt that towards me?
Sure, a couple more pockets inside. There's the mouth of the bag.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the back side, you have another exterior pocket that's split down the middle. So you kind of have two little things here. This bag, you could put like a whole village in here. There's a lot of storage for such a small bag. I love this bag. There are several incarnations of this bag in my life, and I'm going to get the pictures. We'll plug those in so you can see the different copies. This happens to be the one that's on our sales floor sample now. I've made this bag enough times. I have mine. I'll show you that I just made. Here it is. This is the one I'm currently carrying around. Here we go. And this one, if it's a little shorter, because this is a little tall for me. I don't like how tall that bag is. I mean, it's fine. I've made it both ways. And that's a little deep. So I wanted one a little shorter. So I changed it. And this is the part that I'm trying to get you guys to think about when you get these bag patterns. Just because it says to make it one way doesn't mean you have to. You can modify it. I've used some Cantha fabric on the outside of this. I've used some vinyl in here. It still has the zipper placement the same. But I stuck a pocket on the outside here that I can drop my cell phone in, because I wanted something I can just throw my cell phone in and have it right there. So that's not on the pattern, but I added it. It can be done. Don't always think you have to be bound to the pattern. And then it's just a crossbody little fun thing. This one I sewed the straps directly in. The one you saw before, the straps have little hardware that attaches them to the bag. So you could change the strap and make a long one or a short one. So there you go. So lots of options. Every pattern is a launching point. It's a launching point for you.
Well said.
Yeah, it's a launching point for you to develop your creativity. The first one you make will not be perfect. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a learning curve. In garments, and Peter's old garment guy, you know, we always made a muslin. It used to be you would make a garment out of muslin fabric that was just a chance to make it, see how it fit, try it on, figure out if your tailoring darts were in the right place, figure the lengths, the shoulder dimensions, and all those kind of things. And so, because I think I started in garments, I don't have a problem making a project once that's like not perfect, because I know the next time I make it, it's going to get better.
It's the practice piece.
Yes, good way to say it. Practice.
Let it be your practice piece, and then you've nailed down what you nailed down on your final version.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I've made, like I said, I can't even tell you how many of these I've made.
10.
At least. I bet 20. I bet I've
20?
made 20 of
20.
these. At least, because I've given them to family members as bags and, you know, and made them for myself and whatever.
Was
So
this
anyway.
the one that I saw at the Hamilton County Fair like 4 or 6 years ago? Was this the pattern
No,
that
no,
you
it was
used?
a
And you
different,
used
it was a
cork?
different one.
Okay.
I used cork. That was a different pattern. But yeah, there's lots of patterns. Okay, so this calls for fabric. Typically the pattern is made for fabric, but you know what I've been teaching these past 6 months is let's use vinyl, let's use cork, let's use interesting fibers. This pattern will adapt beautifully to that. I will caution you because there's layer upon layer of backing and fleece and pocket linings and all that. If you're going to use vinyl, you might want to consider doing what I call a hack here. So this piece that you cut is actually what's folded in half to make a pocket. And in order to, this makes the front pocket. And in order to not use vinyl and have so much thickness of vinyl, I doubled the dimension of the length and just sewed cotton on the back side. That's one of those things that you can do the math and figure it out. I don't reveal the information in the pattern because you need to have purchased the pattern, but if you buy the pattern from us, I can give you those dimensions to make this so that it's not all vinyl. The only part on this bag that's going to be vinyl will just be these bottom pockets. So that's part of the thing that I think is confusing about this bag. When you look at it and you look at the pattern pieces, it tells you very specific what fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4 is, and those fabric dimensions. Let me give you this right here. So like this right here shows you fabric 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how you need to distinguish how you're going to do the bag, because if you look at it, you have a fabric here, you have a different fabric here, and you have another fabric here, and then you even have another fabric as the lining, and potentially that fabric lines in there too. So you can have as many as 4 or 5 different fabrics to kind of give this dimension to the bag and the colors. The pattern I'm showing you now, I elected to only use the vinyl on the front pockets. Everything else in the bag, the lining, everything is the same fabric. And I did that because I wanted it to be kind of understated. I didn't want a lot of the contrasts and all that kind of stuff to have to think about. I wanted just the navy, navy, navy. And so that makes it kind of easy when I cut all my pieces, but I still have to label them. So you can see there's pink Post-it notes on every one of my pieces that says this is the back with the pocket. So I know what piece I'm working with as I'm doing it. And of course with vinyl I can't pin things. You see I'm using binder clips so I can pin it to the fabric, but I can't to the vinyl. So just be aware when you're selecting your pieces that it's best to, while cutting them, label them. You will thank yourself later. See right here, this says pocket with trim, so I know what I'm working on, okay? So, a couple things more that I use. This hardware is what she recommends. It's a 1-inch little, what is this called? Hook, swivel hook and D-ring. So the D-ring and the swivel hook are what go on the bag to hold the handle. You don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. This is additional hardware, but it does kind of dress up the bag a little bit. And of course I'm going to use my bone, I'm not calling this zipper tape anymore because I got in trouble because nobody can find it. But it's adhesive double face tape. And this stuff, if you don't have it, you're going to wish you did because it's awesome. So I wanted to show you those 2 particular products. Alright, so let's get into the pattern. You cut all your pieces directly as she says. As I mentioned, in this case, I did split what was the front and the back pocket into 2 pieces. I added a 1/4 inch to each piece so that I could correctly have the dimension when I sewed it together, because you lose that in that seam, okay? So I did those, cut everything the way I was supposed to cut it, and then the first thing she has you do is fuse everything that needs to be fused. So some things have batting on them, some things have just deco bond on them. When I have a piece like this that would have normally had fusible fleece, but because it's vinyl, I don't have to put the fusible fleece on there because it's thick enough. It's already got the fusible fleece depth to it. when I cut these two pieces, part of the reason that I was wanting to make sure that I didn't use too much vinyl, this is a typical piece of vinyl. Now this is a 1/2 yard, it's in black. It's $13. That's not bad. But if I used vinyl all the way across and through the back of the pocket, then you don't even see this back side of that pocket. And so that's vinyl that I've invested in that you cannot see. Meh, it's kind of expensive. And it adds to the thickness of the bag. So when I get my vinyl piece, if you look at it, and here's the same exact pattern, but it's in black. This is what this piece of vinyl typically is. Okay, so it's 18 inches by, I don't know, 24. What's that? Probably 24. Probably 2 yards. Or, yeah, 24. So there you go. That's what your vinyl looks like when you get it in a chunk. And this has great dimension. I love that piece.
That's beautiful.
I think that's going home with me.
That's beautiful.
I think it's going home with me. So anyway, when you get your vinyl like that, you're going to have to cut a little piece off. But be real careful, and when you lay it out, you can really be careful that you don't use pieces up. The way I cut this, I ended up with, I only used half of one of these sheets, so I really was pleased that I was able to budget myself that way. So that's just something to think about when you're cutting.
I think that's a fabulous suggestion. Using it on exterior and not interior, so then you'll get more mileage out of it.
Exactly. Now you can use it all the way through if you want. And the bag that I just made, I actually did. I wanted the vinyl on the top, which means the vinyl goes all the way down to the bottom of the pocket. So it's the exterior part here and the handles, so it goes all the way down. But I did that knowing I was going to have enough vinyl to make my handles, and that's a pretty big chunk. So just when you're laying out your fabric, think about what works best for you, okay? So then you fuse the pieces she tells you to fuse, which is pretty simple. And then you get to this pocket, the first front pocket. And I will tell you, it's very confusing. So you have 3 pieces. Let me lay this out. And these are going to be labeled. One piece is called the pocket accent. And it ends up being this piece across here. So it's right here. It's the part that the zipper sets into right there, okay? That's the piece. That's the pocket accent. And what she has you do is you have a dimension here that you measure down, and you put your deco bond on, and you fold that down, and then you fold it again. And then you take the pocket lining and you lay it inside that piece. And I know this seems confusing, and you're like, but what am I going to do? Well, because then I'm going to put this pocket on top, and my zipper goes between these two, and that's my pocket.
That's fancy.
Yeah, it's very, very ingenious kind of the way she does it. And it makes a really nice way to put your zipper in and not have too much trouble with your zipper. I like this installation of the zipper. It's really nice. Okay, so this front pocket then would have been, if it had been vinyl or if it had been fabric, it would have been all one piece. So that's what I fold in half. And now I'm going to top stitch that. Now, what I'm going to tell you is with vinyl, you can't press this. I can't touch this with an iron very long. But I want this piece of fabric to lay that way. Okay? So I've put my deco bond up in there. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to, actually I went to the iron first, and I kind of gently iron this that way, very gently, without getting into the vinyl. And then I'm going to fold this back like this. And that's wanting to fold, so we'll have to get that stuck up in there. There we go. I'm going to go like this.
Need some zipper tape.
I need some zipper tape, yeah. And I'm going to top stitch that down, and what it does is it gives it almost the look of a welt. It makes it kind of look like it has a welt in there, which is just a decorative piece that looks fun. So I'm going to real quickly touch up. So see, this deco bond is peeling back in there. That's because I got a little shy about ironing that. So this iron is hot, and I'm going to be super careful not to get the vinyl. because the vinyl, what happens is it removes the little decoration on the vinyl. So see, I'm just kind of sliding up underneath there. My vinyl's all that way. And I'm ironing from the back side of the interfacing, which typically you would never do. But in order to get this where I want it, that's what I'm going to have to do. Cheating, cheating. You know, sometimes we do things that are unconventional just to get it accomplished. There we go. There we go. Okay, now that's down like I wanted it to be. Okay. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to show you how to sew this vinyl. We've talked about sewing vinyl. Everybody gets a little nervous about sewing vinyl. But
oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm so nervous.
I'm afraid to sew vinyl.
What's going to happen?
It's going to be fine. I'm going to use the walking foot.
Will Earth stop spinning on its axis?
Probably not. I know it feels like that. Well, you know, we're just afraid sometimes to step out and do those things. Well, oh, there's the screwdriver. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to change to the walking foot on this, which you don't have to use a walking foot, but most machines are going to be happier with a walking foot. I am using a 40 weight thread, okay, because this purse, it's just a heavier weight thread. I want a heavier thread with it. And I didn't have exactly the shade of blue that I needed to do this, which is hard to believe given all the thread that I have, that I didn't have exactly the right shade of blue. But I decided to use black, and I think I like it better.
Well, it's going to give you a shadow.
Yeah.
Dimension.
Yeah, dimension, exactly. Okay, and I'm using a size 14 needle.
You know, I like it when the thread doesn't match. Like, it's a different color, but, I mean, it matches, like, contrast. It's the same depth of color.
Right.
But it's your hand making it. Why not do something fun? Why make it look like every other bag you can buy?
Exactly. I'm all for unique. Okay, so I have this hammer.
If you had a hammer.
If I had a hammer. So since I can't press this and it's still, see how it's kind of bubbly still? I'm just going to take my little hammer and I'm going to tap that down. Now sometimes when you're working with vinyl, that will give you all the difference you need. And I'm not tapping very hard because this is skinny. Let's go over to the other board because I can really hammer on it.
Are we going to hammer this?
Oh,
was that your foot?
That was my foot, but I got two, so you can walk on one. Okay, here we go. So let's just really hammer this down. See how that flattened that out a little bit? See how that was a little more flatter than this is puffing up? I'm just gonna... Now, when I really would want that is like if I have several pieces in a seam. It helped. So, get your very own little hammer. And it actually does kind of, it still bubbles a little bit, but it's a little bit flatter than it was. Okay? So here we go. Let's do our stitch. I'm going to do the stitch length at 3.0. And I want this stitch to be just about from the edge of the fabric to the stitch. I want it to be about 1/8 of an inch. So when I look at this machine, there's a line right here on my foot that if I set the edge of my fabric on that little line and drop my needle, it's 1/8 of an inch in. If I put my fabric over here, it's 1/4 inch in. You need to know on your machine where those numbers are and how it works. So this is just top stitching. See how fast we're going. And I'm just going to take that right in. And you see I'm using my stylus, y'all. If you've been watching me, you know how much I'm in love with my stylus. Now this is sticking up just a little bit. See how I can see a little bit of the fabric? I'm going to kind of tug that back and make sure that my vinyl is on top. My vegan leather, as Peter calls it. Now with that size 14 needle, that size 40 weight thread, I've got a really nice top stitch.
Yummy.
Isn't that beautiful? Look how pretty that looks. Nice even stitching all the way across.
Man, it's like you rolled it.
It is. And see, it gives you that welt on there, which I just love. And that's because there's the thickness of the 1/4 inch in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that I've done that part, now I'm ready to do the zipper. Ah! Everybody goes,
Okay, if the world didn't stop spinning on its axis during the top stitching, it'll definitely do it during the zipper.
right. So she has a dimension that she has you cut the zipper to, and it is exactly what the distance needs to be. Now where's the other end of my zipper? Where's the little piece of fabric? Here it is. Okay. So she has some directions where she has you fold this down 1/4 inch and put it on and turn it blah, 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 blah. Too much effort for me. You know me, I'm the quick sewer. So what I like to do is just fold this piece in half, and it's a perfect square, so it doesn't matter which way you fold it, and slide it over the end of my zipper so that the edges of the fabric match the edges of my zipper, because I've cut that nice and square.
What? You're making this too easy.
I am making it too easy.
Why are you making it so easy?
And now we're going to sew across here
Oh my gosh.
1/4 inch. And then I don't have to fold and measure and blah blah blah. I know, super simple.
You know
okay,
what?
Let's go to the sewing
You know
machine.
what?
That's, I know, say it. You got to say it.
This is worth, that tip right there is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, so see, then what you get is this. You flip it out, and there you go.
I love that.
Is that awesome?
Oh,
Okay.
that's great.
Let's sew across this so I can show you that you actually can sew across it. Now, I'm using a purse zipper, so it is a thicker, heavier zipper. If you're using
Thank
the
you.
Atkinson smaller zipper, it may not be this wide, but it doesn't really make it.
I can tell you, I love the bigger pole. I like
I
the
do
bigger
too.
teeth.
Now, I'm going to go back to a 2.0 on my stitch length because I want this to really hold the zipper when it zips through there. And you heard it kind of clunk when it hit the nylon teeth. It's okay. It goes through it. It just has to growl about it a little bit. And now I just pull this back. Looky there.
Is that it?
That's it.
Unbelievable.
It's so much easier. Now, then I'm going to have to cut this off to the length that it needs to be to fit in the pocket because these are way too long. But I have enough to play with. And I didn't have to go through all that. And it's finished on both sides. Super simple. Okay?
And I like it because you can memorize it. It's like, oh,
yeah.
If you just want to have a random zipper and have random fabric scraps for any zipper, you can just do that.
Yep. It's super,
There's no
super
math.
sweet. Super sweet. Okay. So now I have to cut it. And it's going to have to be the dimensions of this same pocket. Because it's going to center now. This is the piece I had before. Remember, I put my piece and I folded it, and I put the lining inside of it. And my pocket's going to go down here. So the first thing I'm going to sew this onto is the pocket. Now, obviously, that's too long. So I'm going to find the center. And actually, she has you cut this to a length, which you know what it is. So we're going to do this way. Since I don't have something to measure real quick. We're going to just improvise. Improvise. So center, put this in the center. You probably won't want to edit this part out. But that's okay, look, here's how I find the center. I'll put my zipper head right in the center so I know I'm right in the center. And put that on the center mark of what the total distance is, and then I know how much to cut off. See? More than one way to skin a cat. Cut that. Typically I'd put this on my cutting and do it, but since I don't have it. Okay, there we go. So now this is going to sew right down in here. Look how pretty that's going to be. That's all where that goes in. This goes in here and here. So I have to sew that zipper into the top of this and into the top of that. So I've already sewn one line across here, and I did that because I wanted to have an extra line of top stitching. And now I'm going to set this on here. Now, you know what I'm going to use?
Zipper tape.
Zipper tape.
But it's not called zipper tape.
It's not called zipper tape, no. It's called double stick adhesive. But I actually am probably going to put just a little bit on each end and kind of hold this in place rather than go all the way through, because the vinyl with the leather, with this double stick tape, sometimes can be a little bit much for the machine to push through. Okay, here we go. Let's put a little double space tape on there. Double adhesive tape, as it were. I've got so much of this stuff, and I still never have quite enough. Now, I'm going to put this, rather than put it on the zipper, I'm going to put it on the fabric. Well, am I going to put it on the zipper, or am I going to put it on the fabric? Let me think about it.
We'll find out when we get there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put it on the...
It depends.
I know, well...
And how wonky your zipper is.
Right. And that's
or how wonky your fabric is.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking my fabric is more stable, so I'm going to put it on my fabric. Like right there. And I don't necessarily have to do the whole thing for it to hold. Here we go. That's the start of the tape, so it's a little crazy. Okay. I lifted it off. It's Monday. Can you tell it's Monday? Okay, that's the first piece that is screwed up, so we're going to start over.
This is all part of the experience, folks.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're trying to get it to work. That was the first piece of tape off of that roll, and boy, was it crazy. So I guess you got to discard that first little bit. All right, so I'm laying that right against that where I sewed already. Okay. And then I'm going to lay my zipper down like this.
It is a little quiet. It's like, the machine's quieter than it takes quieter than it.
See, isn't that wonderful? There we go. It's far, a little far in. Let's go out a little more.
Okay, this one's ready to go out.
Okay, there. Okay.
I like how it's not exact measurements. You just got to eyeball it, put it where you feel it's right,
Well-
and then once you sew it in, you feel whether it was right or not.
Well, I mean,
I like that.
you can see it. You can see there's
Yeah.
lines on there, and I'm following those lines. This one we may go over a little bit.
But at least you don't have to stress over a ruler. That's all I'm trying to say.
No. There are points where we will, but this isn't it. Okay, so now I'm going to use my zipper foot because the walking foot won't go through all this. So this is, I keep, when we do these videos, I change the feet often. And I want you to get comfortable. I have to get in here and see. I want you to get comfortable with changing the feet on your machine. That's not a bad thing. We have to do that in order to use the right foot. Use the right foot, use the right tool, and your machine's going to run better for you, and you're going to get a better project.
I guess all the feet have names for a reason,
They
perhaps?
do. They do, and they serve a purpose. So we need to use them for the right applications. And I know sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to stop and change my foot. I'll just do it anyway.
You know, this reminds me of the time when I took your class and I had a zipper foot and I was all excited because I had a zipper foot and I got to use my zipper foot. But I had such a cool Janome machine that was so wonderful that the foot that was on it was better than the zipper foot.
Yeah, that machine you've got, it has a narrow straight stitch foot, so it wasn't a typical.
Wasn't a
wide
typical
foot.
straight
No,
stitch foot.
It wasn't a typical straight stitch. Okay, so here we go. I want to sew really close to this. And that's what this allows me to do. So see this zipper foot, I can get right in there. And now I see this is going to drop right next to that. So I'm going to have 2 lines of stitching, and it's just going to catch that zipper. Here we go. I'm going to turn my stitch length up to 3.0, and here we go. All right, lock it. And then because it's vinyl, I'm going to have to move it forward just a scooch to get it started. But I've locked that stitch good, which is exactly what I want.
It'll be in the seam.
It will. she be. There you go. 2 lines of stitching. Side by side. And that's, I love the way that looks. Get it back a little bit. Look at that. Looks good.
That does.
Looks nice. Okay, then let's put this part on. So this is the next part. Now, this part, when you put it underneath here, I'm going to sew through all the layers. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want this to shift, is I'm going to use my binder clips to hold this piece in place. So I line up the bottom edges here, and I put this in to hold it very secure. And then this folds down right over that. I may have to drop this just a scooch. It's the width of the zipper is wider than usual, so the dimension's off a little bit. There we go. So see, now my zipper is back. See, it's between the two.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly where I want it. And I'm going to clip that in. Clip that in just to hold it for now. Clip this on the sides. Can't use pins with the vinyl. Alright, now here we go. Now we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to stitch the zipper in. And that's got all 3 layers now. It has the front pocket, it has the pocket lining, and it has the accent piece. And I'm just watching the edge of my stitching, that it's right on the edge of the foot. So I'm going through all the layers. The first time I saw this pocket, I was so confused. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here?
When I take your bag classes, Capi, they always, anytime those layering things, they're all bewildering to me. It's like,
They are.
if I don't have you to show me how to do it, I'm not doing it.
They're
I
confusing.
can't figure it out.
Now, when you look at where this...
It's like origami.
Yeah, it is. It is confusing. I agree. So I have these 2 stitches that are fairly close. This one's a little farther, so I'm going to put my next stitch line right in here so that these 2 stitches mirror those 2 stitches. And to do that, I'm going to move my needle position over. So see how this foot has 3 holes and I can sew here, here, or here. I'm going to sew over there. And I'm still going to put the edge of my fabric on the edge of this foot. So by doing this, I've created my decorative stitch-ish kind of thing, my top stitching, so to speak. And I haven't had to change how I visually look at the stitch when I put it in there. It's going to naturally end up in between those 2 because of where I put the needle position. Rather than trying to move the fabric, I'm just moving the needle position. That's what I want to say. That's what I'm trying to get out of my mouth. And I'm doing this from the side, and I'm going to tell you, sewing from the side is never
You
good.
gotta line up your belly button to the center. But, because we're in a live studio
Yeah, we're
recording
not doing
setting.
it. So there now I have 2 stitches here, and I have 2 stitches here, and then I have the zipper in between. That's kind of pretty.
Okay, will you please tell the fine people at home making this bag why you left a generous space
Oh, because-
here?
yeah.
Because, you know, when I see this, like Peter, he wants to line this as close to that zipper as possible, but I found out why you don't do that.
Yeah, because you want room for that zipper head to get through there. You really want room for that zipper head to have plenty of space to move. And I like to see the zipper tape. I mean, especially, this is all one color, but if that zipper tape was white or pink or something fun, it adds another dimension to it. So yeah, if you can get too close to that zipper and then it gets caught.
Well, then the opening's tiny.
And the opening's tiny, yeah. But I've still caught, that tape is fairly wide, so
Yeah,
I've
it
still
is.
caught that tape.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
a
that
good
lovely?
tape.
Okay, now
That's lovely.
I'm going to do these
Who's
same...
getting this?
This is mine. I'm
Okay.
keeping this bag.
I
Virginia sees
didn't
it.
know navy was your color.
I can do navy. So now I'm going to do the same 2 top stitching because this is actually the top of a
Wait,
pocket.
these are my colors.
So see, there's my top. My lining is the same. I'm doing everything all in the same color. This is going to be a really pretty bag.
That is so elegant.
It's going to be a pretty bag. So now let's see. Let's do this in the center. Do that there. There. Okay. So now I'm going to put my next layer of top stitching in. we're gonna go. I'm gonna get in the center of the, yeah, this will be my bag. You'll be seeing me, if you see me in the grocery store, which you probably won't. I try not to go to the grocery
So,
store.
can I put my name on it for when you get tired of it?
When I get tired of it, yeah, I do that. I have been known to donate my bags
This
to
one
the staff.
definitely is my style.
It's gonna be very pretty.
I think
very
almost everybody all your staff has one of your bags.
A lot of them do.
Well, most of them.
A lot
Not
of
all of
them
them. A few of them.
A lot of them do. I bring them in and put them on the break room and say, here, take them home. It's about time to do that again, so be warned.
I'm getting here early that day.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just doing the top stitching here, and so we're going to zip through this kind of quick. But I wanted to impress upon you the idea that you don't have to move your fabric to do double top stitching. Move your needle and leave your fabric at the same place. Just change your needle location. You're more likely to get a nice even distance. See how my distance is nice and even because I moved my needle and I kept the edge of the fabric in the same place. That's what I'm trying to get at. So there you go. Now the front pocket's done. Isn't that pretty? Oh, this is going to be a gorgeous bag. Okay.
You may not get to use it.
I may not get to use it. The back
I may
pocket,
hide it when you're done.
Yeah, the back pocket is basically the same. You just sew it onto the back front part, or the back part, pretty much the same as we did the front. It's just you run a seam down the center here. Now, you don't have to do that. If you want to leave that pocket open, you can. If you want to put another pocket on top of this, before you sew the front, this exterior pocket onto anything, you could put another pocket on the front of that if you wanted to. To put the line on the vinyl, I'm saying the wrong words. I use this chalk. I love this chalk because it brushes off of the vinyl. So I can take this and draw a line on the vinyl like that. I can sew where I want to sew, and then it brushes right off. So if you have to make a mark on the vinyl, that's the way to do it, is with this chalk. Okay.
Nice.
So there you go. That's going to say the word, right? Okay.
I've seen it before.
You've seen it before.
I know about that.
You know
one.
that trick. Then the next thing we're going to get ready for is our gussets. We have to have 1 inch gusset at the bottom. And as you know, whenever you cut a gusset, it's always going to be whatever the width that you cut the square, it's twice that size. That's how big your gusset is. Now, when I sewed the front to this top, because of my zipper was a little wider than the pattern usually calls for, I have a little gap down here. I'm going to square that off. Okay? When I get ready to sew everything together, because I don't want top front. Here's the top front. I don't want, well, here, we'll just hide it in there. We'll do this way.
There you go.
There you go. It'll be compacted in there. See, now when I sew that pocket closed, it's not going to catch that at the bottom. See how those are layered a little different? So we're going to trim.
Should we take it to the chop shop?
We'll take this to the chop shop. Okay. So now I'm ready to cut this to make sure it matches. So here's the important part. This is what I'm getting at. That's the back of the bag. This is where will be the front of the bag. And this has to go on top of that. Okay? So that's the front, that's the back. What's happened when I've sewn these 3 layers, well, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 layers together, this is not exactly even at the bottom. And that's going to happen from shifting and from the fact that my zipper was a little thicker, was wider. So what I'm going to do, because I want all these layers to be caught in the bottom, I don't want anything to not be caught, and that would be missed. I'm going to go to the shortest distance here, and I'm going to cut this off square so that this is exactly even. And I'm going to sacrifice a little of the height of the pocket in order to make it match. So see, that's chunking off a little bit, but that's okay. It's a bag. And now when I sew this to the front bottom edge, that is all even. Okay, that's going to be a big deal when I get ready to open this pocket if that wasn't even. So now these 2 pieces match. See, they're the same size. Super important for the bag to match. So what I have to do now is cut my gussets. Now when I cut my gussets, typically I mark them from the back. This is too many layers. I can't cut through all that. So what I'm going to do is cut the gussets one at a time. And I'm going to mark those. And I brought decent scissors this time. But where are they? I have this pencil. I always have, look, I brought my good Kate Buckley's. I got my good ones.
Those are the best.
Those are the best. So I'm going to mark my gussets and get all those cut. And this gusset on this is very small. It's not really made to have a big, deep gusset. It's more just it's more like an envelope bag, I guess, for lack of better purposes of explanations. But everybody gets this little...
So did you say whatever you mark your gusset, it's twice that?
Yeah, so I've got a...
So, I mean...
I got a 1 inch square. It's going to give me a 2 inch gusset.
2 inch gusset? I mean, 2 inches.
1.5 is going to give me a 3 inch gusset.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make it so big that you can't...
Well,
I think the design of it is to be lightweight and, you know, put smaller things in. And
the gusset ends up getting bigger. I mean, you would think, gosh, that's going to make a really big gusset. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not like a purse where it's like, you know, 4 inches or something, or 6 inches.
This is just an over-the-shoulder bag kind of, you know, grab and go. I'm being real careful not to cut into that too far, because if you cut in beyond that square, that makes that gusset a weak point. But look at my K-buckles going right through that, no problem.
I love how those scissors just grip onto what you're working with, and you get such precision.
They do. Well, they're serrated, so I don't know much about scissors other than somebody said one time, well, it's because they're serrated that makes them stay sharper. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know what that means, but the person who told me did, so I trust them. All right, so I'm cutting out all my little gussets on all these pieces so that we're ready for the gusset when it comes time. And I put the zipper in the front and made the front pocket. I made the back pocket. This is going to go on here. This is my back pocket. I haven't marked those gussets yet. And I sometimes will bump a gusset up a little bit. I think I like a wider bag rather than a taller bag. Some people...
I do. You know, I'm in the wider bag camp.
Yeah, If I'm
you got to give me at least 4 inches to make it usable. Exactly. Man.
Yeah, I agree. This is, matter of fact, if you notice the bag that I made, here we go again, we'll talk about this, how I modified it. See, I cut that 1.5 inches.
Wow, now that's a
gusset.
bag.
That's got a gusset, a deeper gusset. That's part of the reason it's shorter.
That's how it shrunk.
Right, that's part of the distance that it shrunk. So, I just like a wider bag. But I'm going to make this one's going to be for me too. I'm going to make this one a little thinner, the way the pattern calls for it. I could make it bigger if I wanted, but...
I think this will work nice for me.
Okay.
I think the 1 inch gusset will work.
Yeah,
I'll make it work.
I'm seeing you using this for.
I mean, this is like a project bag for my knitting.
This is a
sock
project
knitting bag.
Cigar.
Oh yeah,
pipe
a cigar
bag.
Pipe bag for when I go and enjoy the tobacco in the backyard.
I'm seeing it. Okay, so I've cut all my notches. I've done all those parts. Then she has you do this interesting little pocket. So the pocket is made, so all my gussets are cut. There you go. The pocket, she has you cut the front and the back, and then she has you cut a little piece for trim. And you fold that piece in half, and you sew it in between these two. Now, if I had done contrasting fabric, let me put these up so I keep bending over to get them. If I had done contrasting fabric, then you can see that the pocket would have this. It would have the one and then the contrast, the little contrast on the top. And it's just a decorative feature. This isn't brain surgery. That's not why she did it, to make it complicated. She just did it to add a little oomph, you know, a little wowzer to the whole thing.
I really like that about her bags.
Yeah.
That one part, that's worth the price of buying the pattern, just to be able to do that one thing.
Yeah. So
cool.
You take your two bigger pieces.
It seems hard, but
and
it's not.
I know, it's so confusing. Because the first time I'm like, why is she doing that to the pocket? That's a little welt in between. I sew that together. And then I also sew down this seam, and then I turn that inside out. So let me sew that seam down real quick. I'm going to change my foot again. Now, this time I'm just going to go to my straight stitch foot. Just my plain old straight stitch foot. Not putting on the walking foot. This is just 2 layers of cotton fabric. I don't need a walking foot for that. All the seams in this project are 1/4 inch. So that tape is in the wrong spot, but that's okay. We're going to make it work. The edge of my foot, from the needle to the edge of my foot's 1/4 inch. So fortunately I know these things because I've worked with this machine enough. And you should know your machine. You should be able to put on a foot and go, okay, I know that distance from there to there is 1/4 inch or whatever. Some people need guides and all that stuff. That's fine. Use them. But you also ought to be able to eyeball stuff. We're going to do another project, especially in things like this because it's not that big a deal. We're going to do another project on our What's New video.
Oh, we are? Oh, we are.
Yeah, we are.
I remember.
Yes, and I'm going to talk a whole lot about just, figuring out kind of where approximations are because it's a project that really can lend to that. So now when I open this up, there's the little piece that she had me put in the middle. See right there? It just makes the pocket longer. I could have just cut one piece, folded it in half, and had a pocket. But this gets you a little decorative edge. And see, when I put this together, I made sure that the little...
Oh, look at you.
See, because...
You got the little V's.
The V's go a different direction. Isn't that fun?
Love it.
I know. I just thought that. So...
You must be a quilter.
I must be a quilter. I know, that's... So this is the part. So much of it translates from quilting, All right, we're going to press this out.
I was going to say I love bags because there's way more forgiveness in a bag than there's a quilt.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think garments are the same way, and I think that's probably why my quilts are a little more generous than most. I mean, I'm not as precise. I didn't start a quilter. I'm not a cross-stitcher. They're very accurate and precise people. So I get it. That I appreciate the importance of that. But with bags, you can kind of like, oh, well, that doesn't work. Let's just cut it off.
Well, I love
Can't do that with a quilt.
And I love garments. 5/8 of a seam allowance to work with? Oh, yeah. Man, my sewing can be all over the place.
Exactly. 5/8, 3/8.
I can have bad lighting. I can be half asleep at the steering wheel. I mean, I'll tell you what. Shoot. And I'll still get a usable garment.
And you'll still get a usable garment. That's right. It still works. All right. So that takes care of our pocket, which is, you could do as many as deep. Again, modify it for what works for you. The lining has, when you do your ironing things on, you have 2 little pieces of fleece that go at the top of the lining. Make sure you cut your gussets out of the opposite end.
Uh-oh.
Ask me how I know. But this is to
buy
support.
Extra fabric,
buy
folks.
extra fabric, yeah. Be sure when you cut your gussets, it's not out of the end with the fleece that you've ironed on. This is to support the zipper.
Oh.
So that's why you have this little dab on there. So
support the zipper.
Yeah, it feels kind of like, why am I putting that on there? And then
first thought I had was reinforce the bottom.
Yeah, no, it's actually for the zipper. Ooh. Yeah. All right, so then this, she's got a nice little dimension, and she has you make this longer than the bag. I've never quite figured out why. Other than I think she just wants you to be sure you get it in there, I suppose. But before I sew it, I always cut that off. So I'm going to take this, because it's hard to see. Cut that off so it's even. Cut this off. And I guess you could have some wonkiness happen when sewing that tube together, so maybe she's giving you that little extra to be sure it doesn't get wonky. Okay. And I'm going to, I can pin this. Pin this right here. Okay. And now I'm going to sew down here, here, and here. Now I could top stitch this if I wanted to. It's inside the bag. I don't care. It's just a little pocket to hold things inside. So I'm going to sew here, here, and then up the center as well. So let's take my marker, my chalk marker. I like these chalk markers because they work on everything. They really, really do. And I'm going to put a line right in the middle. And I'm going to sew up that line too. So that gives me 2 pockets on the inside. Again, if I didn't want that, if I wanted a little skinny pocket here, if I wanted this pocket bigger, it's your bag. Make it your way. Okay? Make the first one to test it.
Test it.
Test it. All right. Again, I'm just sewing through cotton fabric, so I'm just going to use my standard presser foot. I'm not going to do anything special. But but I am going to put this to a 3.0 stitch length because it is a decorative stitch. Now I'm sewing down this side, and I'm sewing really tight in the seam because that part will not show. But this part will be top stitching that will show, as if somebody's going to look inside the bag.
I am.
I know, somebody will. If you put it in the 4-H fair, they look at it. So here I go down there, and I'm just putting, when you look at this, I'm putting the edge of my fabric on this line right here on my foot because I know that gives me about 1/8 of an inch. Again, know your machine.
You gotta know when to fold them.
Yeah, know where to stitch them.
Know when to hold them.
Okay, so that's going to hold that in place, and then I'm just going to come up this center and do a stitch. Now, here's a little trick too. When you're sewing, when you want to start sewing someplace, it's easier to start there than it is to end there. So if I start sewing here and I want to end there, this is the part that I don't want to sew over. So I'm going to start on this end. And man, is it hard to see that dark against the dark. But that's okay. So I'm going to drop my needle, and I know I'm right on the edge. And now I just sew straight down that chalk line. And when I get to the end, I lock that stitch. We're done. So there's my interior. That's part of the lining. Trim that little piece of thread. There we go. It's kind of a fun little pocket lining, isn't it?
It is.
Perfect. Okay. The next part she has you deal with, so there's my 2 lining pieces. There's my 2 exterior pieces. I mean, this bag goes pretty quick, really, when you look at it. Takes you longer to cut it out. They're flying through all my little pieces that tell me what's what. Once I get it sewn together, I know where it's at. Now we're getting ready to do the handle. In fabric, she gives you a dimension to cut of 3.5 inches for a strap, which is fine. I typically cut 4 inches because then I can just fold it all the way to the center, and I'm done. What she likes for you to do is cut it 3.5 inches, press it like this in half so you have it half, and then you take a piece of the decor bond, which is just basically an interfacing, and a piece of the fusible fleece, cut those at 1 inch each, and you lay one on one side, one on the other side. And that's how you're going to press that in, and then fold this in at 3/4 of an inch basically, and then fold that in half. And that's how you get your strap. If I used vinyl, I wouldn't have to do this. I wouldn't have to put the interfacing in it. You do need, she recommends 50 inches. Now I have made my strap quite a bit bigger because I wanted to put a buckle on mine. I want it to have a buckle so I can make it adjustable. So I can carry it kind of small shoulder bag or crossbody. And there goes some of my pieces falling off because I took the paper clip out. But in any case, chances are pretty high that you are going to have to piece together pieces to get that long enough. So 50 inches, typically you're not going to go the length of a piece of fabric to get 50 inches. You're going to cut with the fabric 42 and then cut another 10. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to piece these 2 together. Well, I don't want to sew them that way. That's not a sturdy seam. What I want to do is do it like I would a binding. And that's where you sew across here. The problem with, if I just put those edges even just like that and I sew it, I can't see where that corner is exactly. It's hard to see. So what I do when I sew these is I just offset it just that littlest bit, and now I can sew from this point to there, and I can visually see it, and I don't have to draw a line.
I'm going to steal that now and use it forever on my binding strips.
Yeah. So when you're sewing binding strips together, it's just like, just offset that a little bit.
Why make it so difficult?
And then you can see from here to here, and I don't have
it's
to.
so easy.
Right. I don't have to draw a line. So let's sew this so you can see how I'd sew a binding. Poor Peter, he's going back and forth today on his little chair. So, to reiterate, if I put this over here, where's my point that I'm going to?
It disappeared. It's
but
gone.
if I go here, I can find that point because they're different. And now I can find that point. So I can put that right on my sewing machine. And if I'm sitting in front of it with my belly button aiming. And that's the other thing. And this is the dumbest thing, but I will tell you the truth. If you sit with your belly button in line with your needle, you'll sew straight. Works every time.
What if your belly button's off to one side?
Well, then you got another problem. That's a different story. Did you guys?
Does it matter? Does it matter if it's an innie or an outie?
That would be a medical issue. That's right.
Hey Dawn, does it matter if it's an innie or an outie?
Oh, there's that issue too. So now I'm just going to cut this off, just like this. The people who come back for lunch are hearing this conversation in the back room and wondering what in the world are they talking about. And looky there. Ta-da.
Love it.
Love it. Okay? So that's just an easy way to do that. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, the other thing is when you're doing these two pieces that she has you iron in, so I have to layer those because now I'm going to press this to one side. I'm just going to press this that way. Okay, so it's out of my way. And then I fold this like this to get my seam line. Okay, that's my seam line. And that's all we're not marking, we're not pinning, we're just doing this quick and easy. Now then, I have a line I can see. And I'm going to lay my pieces in here like this. Okay, I'm going to lay these pieces in here like this. The problem is, I probably have to cut my fleece. I may not get a 50-inch by 1 inch long piece of fleece as well. Or my Deco Bond. So with that, it's the same thing. I'm going to put that in. And I honestly, I don't want those both right up against that seam. I want to give about 1/8 of an inch off of where that fold is. Because if they're too close together, when you fold it, they bubble. Okay? But when I layer these two pieces, I just put that piece in and then just tuck this under just the littlest bit. And then iron the next piece in. Same goes here. See, that's even got a little cut in it. We'll use the other end just because it's confusing. But I put the adhesive side down and I just stick it under just 1/4 of an inch or so. And just iron that together. It won't make a hill of beans difference. It's just fine. It still irons really flat. But it gives me enough to get that whole length that I need. Okay? So it's a simple thing. It's like, oh, make a strap. Well, there's a lot of little details to it. So there's your strap. Now, I'm going to show you the strap real quick. When I made my strap, I sewed twice on this side, twice on that side. And the way I did it was I sewed the inside one first and then I sewed the outside one. Here's where my fold is. I'm always going to sew the fold side first and then sew here's the open side. I say that wrong. Here's the open side. There's the fold side. I'm always going to sew the open side first and then sew the fold side. This takes a little bit of time. But rather than cut, there's a little 6-inch piece she has you cut to make the little tabs. I just make one big long strip and then I just cut the chunk off of here that I need. So we'll just cut. You know, I remind myself of Eleanor Burns the way I just throw everything around back here. If I'm at home, it's so much better because I have everything all organized. And everything has a place and everything's in its place. So I'm going to cut this off here to make the straps that hold it that go into the bag. And she gives you some dimensions on those. Okay, so I've cut the ends off of my extra long strap in order to put what would normally be D-rings. It calls for D-rings, but I'm using, Peter called it a flat D-ring. And it's like a tire. It's only flat on one side. So when you have a tire on a car, if it's flat, just roll the tire over and the other side maybe won't be flat, right? Ba-dum-bum. Okay, so in a D-ring or any ring, there's always a joint where they put it together. Rather than put that on the outside, I always put that on the inside, just so that it doesn't show.
Look at that.
Just a little, it doesn't show. Then it looks really...
I always wondered why they came cracked.
There you go. They don't look cracked that way. And then I'm just going to sew. I put my zipper foot on my machine, and I'm going to sew as close as I can to that D-ring, which is not a D-ring, it's a square ring. I think my needle's unthreaded. Yeah, my needle's unthreaded. Of course. Walk away, and that's what happens.
I think there's...
It's Monday.
No. I think there's something that lives inside the sewing cabinet that when you walk away, it unthreads your machine.
I think so. It feels that way sometimes. It's just like, really? Could we just have more fun?
Fun day Monday.
Fun
Or no,
day
I
Monday.
always call it Monday Fun Day.
Yeah. Well, it's Monday fun day for sure today. We've just had, it's been an interesting day. That's all I can tell you. We've had kerfuffles. Anyway, it's just Monday. That's all. Monday.
Is that why they call it Monday Madness?
Monday madness. The Mamas and Papas, Monday, Monday. Didn't they sing a song, Monday, Monday?
No. Oh, did they?
I think
Yes,
they
they did. Oh, is it called Monday Monday? They go through all the days of the week?
No, they just talk about Monday.
Oh.
Okay, so now there's my little rings.
Are you sure it's not Sunday? Sunday, Sunday.
No, I think it's
la,
Monday.
La, la, la.
So I think you got the right melody, but you got the wrong day.
I do? It's Monday?
It's
It's
Monday.
not Sunday?
I'm pretty sure it's Monday.
I've made it up this whole entire my life.
Is this
singing
one of those things where
Sunday.
they were singing the wrong words and you were singing the right words?
Jeez.
You know where they have a song it's
Yes.
like this? They sing the wrong words. I've been singing the right words for all my life. Okay, there you go. So now I've made my rings. So they tell you to put the swivel rings in. Now I'm going to tell you wait. See, I'm always changing things up because when you place the zipper on there, it's really a little bit easier to not have those in yet. So we're doing another zipper to do the top. Once you get those D-rings ready and you get your strap done, you just set all that stuff aside. And then we get ready to do our zipper. Now, she does tell you to put the D-ring in, but I'm telling you, wait, don't do it yet. And she also tells you to sew the bottom of the bag together. Don't do that yet. Just hold on. Go to the step 19. Get your zipper to the right length. And then I do want you to do it the way she tells you on this one because of the way the top of the bag works. Your zipper does not go down into the seams. You have this little cover part that prevents the zipper from being in the seam so that this sews up and the zipper isn't even anywhere near the seam.
I've always wondered why they put that there.
Yeah. It's a cleaner side here.
Okay.
And it's not as heavy.
Oh, because otherwise you just have the zipper exposed
Yeah.
and bent and it looks dumb.
Exactly. And it's messy.
Ah.
Okay? So I'm going to square this up a little bit.
We'll add that to the price of admission list.
There you go. That's another one
Yeah.
that you want it to be.
Man.
Okay. So, and this is a little shorter than what she tells you to cut it a little shorter dimension because you don't want to sew through it on the side. So, she actually tells you, and I agree with this, and we're going to go over here to this part we're going to iron. You're going to just fold this in. You fold this in half and iron it. And then you fold it in half again and iron it. And you're just making that little
How fun.
binding.
This is fun.
It's a binding. It's a binding. And then in. Okay? So unlike the one that we did before where we sewed it and then flipped it out, I can't do that with this. It's not going to work that way. And then I nestle that down in here like that. Okay? Just like that. So I'm going to cut this in half. So I need one for each end.
You know, when you were doing bindings for quilts, and you always say, "Oh yeah, I always get 1.25 yards because I can make it square, and then I help take all the leftovers and I save the leftovers."
Here
is this
we
one of those
go.
situations where you could use your leftover binding?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I was wondering.
Absolutely. And so then that's going to go on each one of these ends. Okay. Now with this piece, because those want to wiggle, those want to, you know what I'm going to do?
Zipper tape.
It's going to put a little piece of zipper tape in there.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
See?
More than one use for zipper tape.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you what.
You might as well get 2 rolls.
I think I have, they're all over. It's like my stylus. I have them everywhere. That was hot. Okay, so for the record, when that fabric's hot, it doesn't want to stick to it.
Oh no. Okay, I'll tell my story. So
Tell your story.
I needed to get something to work on a leather bag that I'm making.
Yes.
And I wanted to stitch the pocket, so I made a pocket with a gusset, and I want to stick it to the outside. The leather's a little bit different, so you got to problem solve and figure it out. Do I punch each piece separately and then sew it, or do I glue it and then sew it? Well, I couldn't figure out how to glue it. It just, my mind wasn't working, because when I worked it out in my head, it never worked out. So when I'm at the store and I said, "Hey, I want to do this. What do I do?" Do you know what she recommends? And I about just,
Not double adhesive tape.
yes,
No way.
Yes. She goes, just put some double adhesive tape. And I was like, you know what? You are a genius. And the whole
And I
time
know
I'm
where to get
thinking, why didn't I think of that?
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Why?
How many videos have we talked about this stuff?
10.
I know, at least
six.
Yeah, at least 6. I know.
Man.
It's just too good of stuff.
I was like, I cannot wait to tell Cappy that story.
It is the answer for the. Okay, so you know what? And two, I mean, when you think about medical profession, they use like sticky tape for stuff instead of stitches, and it's how did the world survive before double stick
liquid
tape?
stitches.
Liquid stitches, yeah.
I mean, you could use just one side of this with a cut in an
did we ever?
emergency.
All right, so there. Now I've used my double face
Love
tape.
it.
Everybody's in where they need to be. We're gonna top stitch down each
gonna
side
sew?
of those. I'm gonna sew.
Watch my toes.
Yeah, watch your you watch my toes. I'll watch yours. And I've got my zipper foot on. I'm gonna actually take that off because I need a little more oomph than that. So we're gonna put this on there. Put my needle back to the center. And sew. And this is a 3.0 length because it is a decorative stitch. Boom, and the other side too. Lock. And see how that tape just holds it?
I love that.
Makes it easy.
Okay, so the zipper is the length that you need it, and you don't need to make any adjustments in the length of the zipper to attach these tabs, right?
No, because they're
Okay.
they're just covering over the ends.
Love that.
And see, then when that sews in, then I have finished edges.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're gonna do the same thing that we did before with layering and putting in the zipper. So this is layer upon layer. Now, what I haven't talked about is I have these 2 pocket pieces kind of hanging on here. I'm gonna zigzag this down on the sides to hold it.
Oh, that's such a great idea.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say that and I'm gonna change my mind. Because of the vinyl,
Oh, yeah.
I think I'll skip zigzagging it.
If it was all fabric, though, that'd be great.
It
Keeps
would.
track of all
but
them
I don't want to
threads.
sew through that more than I have to.
Right.
What I do know I have to do is, in order for the pockets to work, they do have you sew in here about 2 inches each way. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that and sew that, and that'll hold that together for me. So I'm going to sew that in 2 inches, and then that'll hold that. So I'm going to make sure these line up at the bottom. Make sure that lines up at the bottom. And just go over that top stitching for a couple inches. And then that'll secure that piece together. This piece is secured because it's sewed down the middle. So everybody's all connected to each other. Okay, real quick, I'm going to top stitch. I'm going to go over the previous top stitching so that you won't even see these stitches. And all that's doing is just kind of making sure that pocket, when you stick your hand down in there, it doesn't slide open too far. And it doesn't put stress on the seam. Let's go this way. It doesn't put stress on the seam from when you're digging around in that pocket. And I lock that stitch at the beginning and the end because it's going to be this part here. When you're going down in that part back here, it's going to put stress there. All right, so now we're all one. Now, putting in a zipper, now I have 4 parts. This is going to get messy. Messy. She had you sew the bottom together. I'm telling you to wait. Just because I think it's easier if the bottom's not sewn together at this point. So I have 2 pieces, and this zipper has to go in between. That's the outside. And that zipper has to be right in here. Okay? And actually it'll go on this way. And then you have the inside, and it's going to go here. Like this. So visually I want you to see that. So that that zipper is trapped between those 2 pieces. Now, I'm not going to sew all that at one time, obviously. That's a little chaotic. But I am going to do this. I'm going to put this zipper like this. And what I want to do is measure in, and I really hope this is 1 inch because I want a full inch on each side if I can. That way I've got plenty of room. It's going to be 3/4. 3/4. And that's 3/4. Perfect. And the zipper can be closed at this point, which is fine. I'm probably gonna have to move my zipper. But I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna clip it in place. Yeah, she has you do this one step at a time, but I like to do it twice. Here is my pockets, okay, on that lining. And I'm gonna lay this right here. And I match that side up, and I put this now here. And I'm just gonna stitch through that one time with my zipper foot, and I'm just gonna sew this right on. And that's going to get that zipper foot, or that zipper in there where it needs to be. Okay, so everybody's lining up. Yay! There we go. And see, my tabs are sticking out. Yeah, the zipper, I'm going to put the zipper foot back on. All I do is take that zipper foot off and on. Because the zipper's in there. And I know if I stay close enough to this edge, I'll be fine. Now, I am going to start with the zipper head at the other end. There we go. And you can see the zipper head's bumping up there. There's a bump right there. You can feel the zipper. It's there. But I've got the tape wedged between there. Now I'm coming up on the zipper head, so I'm just going to pull this open and I'm going to push that zipper head to the top so it's out of my way. There we go. Okay, so now I have the right side with the lining on one side. It's going to go like that. Okay, and now I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to put this like this, and now we do the other side. This is the right side of the fabric, or the outside of the fabric. So I'm going to lay this down like that. Okay, right side to right side, like that. And I'm making sure all my sides are even. And now here's the inside, right side to right side here. Okay, and now I take my binder clips.
Now, the kind of printer you have to have needs to be an inkjet printer.
And I'm going to binder clip these in place. Making sure that zipper is caught between these two. Now she has you do this in like 3 steps. No time. You sew one layer and then another layer and then another. I want to sew it one time and be done. There we go. There we go. Now my zipper head's at this end. So I'm going to start sewing here and go down and move the zipper head. So I did it to the other side. There we go. And I'm putting in a zipper. Can you believe that? I think I broke my thread again. The zipper. You're going to watch. If you own this machine, you will have learned how to thread this machine by watching me do this. So many times. There we go. So the other day I was sewing, and I thought the problem was my what I was sewing through, and the problem was I had no bobbin thread. I kept stopping and starting, and I was like, dang. And the bobbin was empty. Like, really? Really, Cappy? Look, pay attention. Okay, I'm coming up on that zipper head, so I'm going to tank it down to the other end. There we go. Oh, I'm going to love this purse.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. You're going to take it from me.
I'll patiently wait.
Jeff is off all week. Okay, there we go. Now then.
Is he fishing?
He's fishing.
Oh, right.
All these layers. So there's the outside.
Is that a 7-layer burrito?
Yeah, it is a 7-layer. So see, there's where everything's landing, and then there's my insides. Okay? So that's why this is not going to be in that seam. Now what I like to do, because I really like top stitching, is I'm going to take, so here's, this is so many layers. It's crazy.
Jeez.
So this is the inside to left and the right. This is the outside left to right. What I'm going to do is I want to top stitch through here. So I'm going to take the lining and go this way, and then I'm going to put this down so that this 1/4 inch seam right there is on this side, and I'm going to sew a top stitch right across there. And that, she doesn't tell you that. I'm telling you that because I like the top stitching. I want it to look, and I can kind of push this in just a little bit, and it creates that welt look again. It's just that little bit of oomph. I've got top stitching there, here, and here, and here. Why would I not have top stitching there? Hello? But, you see, I have the outside layer, the inside layer, and then the other inside layer. They're all to this side. So the only thing under here is just this piece. Makes sense?
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
That's right. All right. And with this little bit in there, it's going to make it a really pretty top stitch. Go up. She just doesn't want to start right there. And she's grinding a little bit, going through several layers here. And the whole time I'm doing that, I'm kind of pushing this over so that it gets that little welt that I want. It's also sewing through that 1/4 inch seam in the back. Now my zipper head won't be in my way because I'm far enough over. Okay. That's sharp.
That is.
See that top stitch there? That's going to make that really look nice. Then I do the same thing. I flip everything over to that side. So all I have now is this piece. Do the same thing. Sew another top stitch edge there. If you sew the bottom together like she tells you, you don't get to put this top stitch in. And I like this top stitch on it.
So that's why we waited.
That's why we waited, yeah. So if you're saying, well, why didn't you do it like she said? Well, because I wanted you to have that pretty top stitch on there.
And if you'd already sewn your bottom together, then
it out.
on the next one you can do the top stitch.
You can. Or rip it out. It's not hard.
Yeah, you might as well just make another because all your friends are gonna want these.
They are. This is
Oh
the
my
truth.
gosh!
I've
Start
made this
making them
bag.
now. You'll have all
I've-
your Christmas presents done.
I've made them for several people. People who really love them are people who go on cruises because it just, it's a great little bag to take when you don't go off the ship. You can throw everything you need, and but it's not so big that you can't, it doesn't get heavy. Ta-da! Yummy. It looks like a welt. I mean, it's just...
It does. I love your technique.
Stunning, stunning,
it.
stunning. All right, folks, we're real close now. Except, you know what I didn't do?
Handle.
I
Handle?
didn't put the rings in.
The rings?
I didn't do this.
We can still do it.
Yeah, we can do
We
it.
can fake it.
Because I like to put these. That's why I want to wait, because I want to put those.
Down in there, underneath the thing.
Yeah, and I want them off from that. I want them over here. That's why I had them wait.
Seam ripper.
Seam ripper. I get all caught up in what I'm doing.
We were zooming, man. We were in the zone.
Well, I hadn't planned to do this today.
Yeah, this is a spare of the moment. Because we have so many videos we're cranking out this week.
I know, I was thinking about this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how he's going to get it all done. All right, so we're just ripping that out. Look, this is going to work. This is so funny. This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. This also shows the folks at people, or the people of, what am I trying to say? The people at home?
Improv.
The folks at home? Folks at home. Yeah, this shows the folks at home that when you sew, you're going to make the mistake, but that's okay.
Yeah, there we go.
If you're not making mistakes, guess what? You're not making.
You're not making. All right, we're going to slide that right down in there. Looky there.
Oh, look at that. You made a little window.
I'm so
You
smart.
didn't even have to tear out the whole seam.
No, no, no.
I think this works out better.
Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing because these have to be opposite. So then I'll do the same thing over there.
This is called the Capi technique for D-rings. Go ahead and sew the whole thing first. Then cut your little window.
And cut your little window.
And
Actually,
then
it's not a
insert
bad
it.
idea.
It's not.
And then go back and sew it again. That's so funny. But the reason she has you put these on early, and I don't like to put them on earlier because you don't get, I don't want to put it on top of this. I want them beside each other.
Yeah.
That's my point in doing it later. Because when you do them at the same time, if you put those rings in, then you may end up on top of this piece here, and it's not as desirable. I want this to be next to that. Let me just go a little farther. I'll just sew it in. Here we go. Like that. So the distance here is enough that's one's on one side, one's on the other. Fixing it.
I'm gonna have to steal that technique.
Yeah, I know.
Cause I think it'll be easier to sew in.
Yeah, I know. It is going to be. I'm going to go back over it twice so it's good and solid. And then we're going to go right next to it too in the ditch, just to be sure.
That's a good hack. I like that in the ditch idea.
Yeah, because see, I took the interior seam out too. So, and now when I'm sewing on that, I'm making sure everybody's to this side or everybody's to that
So
side.
nobody gets sewn down.
So nobody gets sewn down, right. So we're going this way.
Flipping and rotating.
Ouch. There we go. Perfect. You know, actually, that really worked pretty good.
I know.
I'm
You got my
thinking I
and
might
you got my favorite color
That may
hardware,
be-
the
that may-
antique brass. I'm
That may
telling
be
you.
the better way to do that, honestly.
All my favorites.
Oh, I didn't go back over it. That really might be the better way to do
I
that.
think that is. Because
Isn't
I
that
sure would hate to
funny?
try to figure out how to clip that and hold it into
Well,
position.
you
and
can,
do all that business.
but
and
I'm just, that's kind of, jeez. Not any discredit to her, but that's maybe the way to go. I just want to be that secure.
it's a design enhancement.
It is. Okay. So now we're ready to do the actual sewing together. Now this is where it gets, and this is the one we did last week. It was the same issue. So see, these are opposites, and that's so it lays crossbody. This is where we get into the same time, like the same thing we had last month when we did it back. So I'm going to put right sides together. Be sure you get all your layers, and right sides together. So my lining's on this side, the bag outside and inside's on this side. All right, here we go. So the next part we're going to do, you've got to be sure the zipper is open. Zipper must be open. If it's not, you are going to cry. So I have, this is the exterior of the bag. I'm going to put it together, right sides together. Okay? Make sure you get all the layers. There's like buku layers. And then the interior of the bag, which is the lining, are these two layers. They're on the left, exterior is on the right. Now, this is vinyl, people, and it's thick, and it's got fleece. I potentially, fleece, batting, fleece, it's got fleece. Now, what I want to be sure I do when I sew these together is I want to be sure that I pull this piece that holds that zipper up and that way so that I can put these two together, okay? So let me show you what that looks like from the side. This is the lining. This is the outside. I want to push these two seams together like that with the zipper part pushed towards the outside. So that piece goes that way, okay? And that's going to sew that together really nice. All right, clip that so it doesn't move. Same thing on this side. I'm going to push that zipper. I'm going to push the zipper to the outside and push that seam down. There we go. Okay? Now then, I'm going to sew all the way around, leaving an opening in the lining because that's where we're going to pull through. Remember, my zipper is open. So what I usually do is I start down here in the lining because it's the easier part. We're going to change to the walking foot because we're going to go through some layers here when we get to that vinyl and that fleece. Because of the vinyl, the vegan leather, I probably could have left off the fusible fleece. But I really wanted this bag to be really have a firmness to it, so I left it in. I went ahead and put the fusible fleece on there. Potentially I could have gotten away without it. But you'll have to use your own judgment on that. Depending on it just makes it a lot to sew through. Alright, here we go. A few binder clips are going to be my friend. We're going to clip, clip, clip. Because you really want to keep these gussets lined up. If they're not lined up, it's a pain in the neck. And when you cut them all in layers like that, they should work anyway. There we go. And put some down here. This is going to be thick. We're going to test this machine today. That's easily
9, at least.
Mm-hmm. It's thick.
I was counting them. But that's an
Several
odd
layers.
number, so it's probably 10.
Make sure everybody's nice where they're supposed to be. Yeah, we're going to push this puppy.
Now, when you're sewing this many layers, do you have to adjust your presser foot tension?
Yeah, the presser foot pressure, I'm going to back off a little bit because this is going to be really thick. But man, is this going to be pretty. Now, this
It
is
is gonna
another
look pretty.
reason why I didn't use the vinyl on the back side of that pocket. I would have basically 2 more layers of vinyl in
Yeah.
this in addition to what I have.
How thick is our sandwich?
I've got 2 layers of vinyl, 2 layers of fleece, and then I've also got a piece of poly so there's a lot of thickness there. But, you know, that's what you do when you make a bag.
Well, when you got a Janome,
A Janome.
6700, you want to be
Janome.
able to throw things out of it.
Right.
It's made for.
And it is. She can do it. You just got to go slow, and you got to have a long enough stitch length. All right, here we go. Now, I'm sewing a fairly deep seam in this because I don't want it to be, I want it to have something to grip. The vinyl can rip. So we're going to do a deep enough seam that she doesn't have that opportunity. Now I'm sewing through all those layers of vinyl right now. Now I'm going into just the fabric. Let's make sure everybody's out of the way. Okay. Now, I've got the ring is there and the zipper is there. So I'm pulling everybody out of the way and flat so I can make sure we're not, yeah, that's where we wanted it. Now I'm going to slow way down so it can go over that without getting cranky. There we go. We're through the bad part. And she did it. Wait till we get to the gussets. Now I don't sew around these because they're my gussets. But I do sew this way. And I lock this. I very definitely lock this because I'm going to pull the whole bag through that hole. And I like to leave this as open as I can, especially with that being vinyl. But I have to sew enough to be able to do the gusset. So I've only sewn maybe 1.5 inches there and left a big portion of that open in the bottom. This bag actually went faster than, than most. Because I'm going to sew that again at the gusset, I didn't tighten it. Now I'm coming into my thicknesses. I'm going to make sure everybody's down, out of the way. I'm going to move my zipper head over just the littlest bit so it's one less thing in there. It's good flat. My zipper part's going the right way. This part's good. Okay, we're good. Slow down a little bit. Good. We made it through again. I was all that fear for nothing.
What a machine.
She's a good girl. She can do it.
What a beast. And that AccuFeed foot,
Yeah.
man, how
That's the other
awesome
thing.
is that?
I'm really pushing through. And I have a 14 needle. Let's not discredit the needle. That's a leather
14?
needle. Mhm.
14?
It's a 14 leather. And so she's going to pump through that stuff in a way that, somebody else wouldn't. So now, even though she had told you quite a bit earlier to sew the bottom of the bag, now we're going to sew the bottom of the bag. I just like to save this till last because I want to be able to get up in there and do things. There we go. See, we're going through all those layers and she doesn't even care. She's like, just a normal day for me. Now we're going to sew gussets. We've done gussets before. They're not something we need to really think too hard about. The only problem is I have so many layers here. I want to be sure I get the right ones opened up. So with this one, what I need to have is be sure I have vinyl to vinyl. And I do. I can feel it. But I have sewn it where I get the wrong layer in the opening.
No.
Yeah, so be sure. And it's a fairly small gusset. So let's see. That one goes to that side and this one goes to this side. So it's real easy to mix those up. Especially because I put vinyl on the exterior. So if you look down in there, I've got vinyl, vinyl, vinyls on all four sides, so I know I'm in the right spot. I'm going to open this up. Now she's kind of working her a little bit here. There we go. This will be fun. This will be fun. This is going to be the test. What I'm going to do is open all that up so it's not quite as... It's fairly pliable. That's the part that's good. And I'll tell you what, Peter knows this. He's working with leather now. There may be cases where you would have to hand sew this to really get it to stay. But I'm going to believe that this girl can do this. Now, I've opened all these seams. See how they're open?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than folded over. So that way it's not as thick.
I like that. Where it's open, that's going to be nice.
Right. And you know what else I'm going to do?
Glue it, hammer it,
I'm going to hammer it.
nail it, rivet it. Take that.
And that flattened that out quite a bit. So, let's see where we go now. This will be fun. You're going to take most of this out. Me wrestling with it. Make sure. Yep. Okay. We're going to lose a needle on this, I can tell you right now. Maybe not. Okay, my gussets are sewn. You've seen that done before, so you know how to sew gussets. This got really thick, so I'm probably going to have to reinforce that a little bit by hand, but I did get through it. I think if I did this again, I would not put the fleece on it, the fusible fleece, and I might leave out some of that Decor Bond too, because with that vinyl, it's very, very thick in these bottom parts. But I'm ready to turn the bag, and if you've done this before, you know it's just a matter of just tugging on it. You know, you just tug it through. That's why we left the opening in the bottom of the lining. And this is kind of the birth of a purse. So this is where, you know, Peter can pass out cigars. Oh, shoot. And this is just a wrestling match at this point. You're just kind of tugging everything through.
This is when I just give it to the instructor and say,
Yeah.
I need help.
I think I have done this for you a couple times.
Actually, I did that on my bag class I took with the leather bag. I said, man, I'm struggling with this. And he's like, had him do it, and he did a great job.
There you go. All right, so now what we're going to do is get all the layers in the right place. So I'm going to come back through this lining, and I'm going to push out my gussets, which actually they're pretty darn good.
They look really darn
They
good.
do. I may have to reinforce them a little bit because it was pretty thick going through
They're
my machine.
professional.
But she's good. We'll make sure that lines up. And then I will go back and sew this. But before I sew it, I'm going to push everything down inside and make sure everybody looks right. Okay. Oh man, is this a pretty bag. Look at that. And you can see how these little pieces just stick up there, and the bag itself, those side seams are not exposed. Dang, that looks great. Turned out just the way I wanted it. Zipper works. That's a classy bag. She's pretty. All right, so now I'm going to pull this lining out, and I'm going to sew that open and closed. I've heard people say they like to do it by machine or by hand. I do it by machine.
Zoom and you're done.
Zoom and you're done. Here we go.
Isn't it nice if people would put their
Yeah,
name in
it
the
is,
bag?
it is.
All right, here we go.
It's got February 19th. But it's from 2021, so.
Okay. And then I put my straps on.
They wanna know
And I haven't quite sewn my straps together yet, but we'll show you. The straps you've done before, you've made straps, so you're good on that. It's just a matter of putting
Tell me about what you guys were doing
these through the
Friday.
there and there. You've done a buckle before, so there's your buckle. I'm going to sew that down, sew that down, and I'm going to put this
I know.
on here.
Virginia, you cannot say things about people out.
Stuff this like that.
We thought it was Well, Julie's no help.
That goes through this one. And this goes through this one.
No, you're not any help.
There you go. I gotta sew
It's
that
not
on.
sewn yet, yeah.
It's not sewn. Let me clip it.
Clip that bad boy.
But I would just sew that through that right there.
Yep.
Sew that through that there. And there you have it.
Hold it up.
That's a good looking bag.
Your arm's blocking your face.
Oh, I don't care about my face. I want to see the bag.
I'm trying to get the cover photo for YouTube.
There you
here.
go. It's looking good. So there you go, folks.
Nice.
Email me if you've got questions. You saw a couple of hacks. You saw us make some mistakes and correct them, which is fine. That's what happens when you sew. And this is a great bag. Dang, I made a new one. I may have to carry this one instead. But I'm going to make a whole nother one for the bag class, so we'll see what they get with that.
Well, if you make it exactly like this, then that could be my copy.
Oh, I see. Make a copy for you, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And stay tuned for next month's bag. Happy stitching.
Oh, the pretty